Good. How are you? Good. Okay.
I won't bite.
Okay.
So the August, I will email you the day, or you want it in the August, the August 25th meeting is at 6 p.m.
And that's the public hearing.
That's the public hearing.
Okay.
And with the adoption date is September 22nd, and it's at 3:30. And so I don't know if it will let me submit it, but I know it wouldn't let me put those dates.
Okay.
So if you can't submit, let me know, and I'll go back in and submit.
Okay.
Okay, let me go over our agenda for today, and I think Susan will likely be here shortly. Libraries going to give us an update of what their plans are with the rainy day fund at 1. Health Department is scheduled at 1:15, and they're on pages 33 and 34. EMS is at 1:45. I don't believe they have a page. Public Defender at 2:15. They're on page 18. Do they have another page? 18 is what I could find. Okay. Okay. She's going to look at most of them. Okay. And at 2:45 is clerk and voter registration. And the clerk is page 1. Their 4D is on page 50. If it's like the prosecutor, that maybe can't touch that. Their perpetuation is on page 51. So 1, 50, and 51 for Jenny at 2:45, voter registration. I assume. Okay. Voter registration is at 9, and Debbie's looking up the 50 and 51. And, drum roll. Voter registration's 9. And what else? Is that it? You said vote. You said election. And she's looking that up. So theirs probably will take over a half hour. I'm not sure. We'll see. But voter registration is 9, page 9. The 8th. No, this is today. I'm going over today's schedule. 245 is clerk, which is pages 1, 50, 50, and they're and 51. So Jenny has 3. 12 for election. Okay, and voter registration also at 245, Harold, page 9 and page 12. So a lot of pages. I'm not sure it's going to take a humongous amount of time, but it's a lot of pages. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Let's turn to, no, we don't need to. We're going to turn to Winnie. Welcome.
Thank you.
She's going to give us an update on the library because I think council has to approve their budget. It's just a formality legal, but go ahead.
So basically, the reason that I'm here today, because normally we are able to approve our own budget, but we will be going over the growth quotient simply because of the bond issue, and we will be making additional bond payments next year, and so that's going to push us over the growth quotient. We do have, our budget consists of 3 budgets. We have our rainy day fund, which of course is not, it doesn't have a tax rate associated with that. It is funds that we currently have. And then we have our operating fund, which was increased by the maximum levy growth quotient. And then we have our bond fund, which we will pay off the current bond next year, as well as have a payment for the bonds that we are getting ready to issue. So that's the reason why I'm here. So I don't know. I've not done this before where I've had to meet with you all, so if you have questions, I'm certainly happy to answer that or go over anything that you might have.
I didn't write fast enough because I was making some notes. Rainy day fund, bond fund, what was the middle one?
Operating,
That's your big one?
yes,
That'd be
the
like
general
our
operating
general.
fund. And so we are, as I mentioned when I came to the council about the bonding this year, we are not going to be increasing the tax rate. The bond tax rate will remain the same. We have funds. We have enough for one, I believe it's close to one payment. It's actually a little more than one payment that we currently hold in our account. So we'll just, basically, we're asking for approval to spend that extra bond payment that we currently already have in our account.
We have to do that
That's
in a
what
meeting.
that's what pushes us over.
Okay,
Right.
that's the main reason for being
Yeah,
here.
it's not really it's not an additional appropriation, but that's the amount that's going to push us over the growth quotient.
So basically, you're just spending more than you're receiving, and that's why you have to come to us to ask.
Yes,
Even though you have the funds in your account,
yes,
just to summarize, that's the bottom line.
yeah.
And it'll be just like ours, if the LGF doesn't think they have the money, then they'll deny. I mean, they won't, but if that, for some reason you weren't to have it, then they would be just like ours, they would deny it and tell them what they had to cut. It's the same.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So it's very parallel in the process
Yep.
then to what we do. Okay. Do you know how much that's going to go over the rainy day
So.
or have to use from the
You
rainy
know what, I
day?
did not figure a percentage amount.
It's okay.
The lease payment that we'll be making next year, which is the bond payment, is $1,333,506. Normally, we would make a bond payment of $850,000. So it's
Okay.
almost another payment.
Okay, gotcha. Any questions for Winnie? That was pretty painless
That's easy.
and short and sweet, so we thank you. Looking forward to seeing the
All right, thank you.
to those improvements, enhancements to the library. I think it's one of our very positive entities that we have in the county.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Sure. So we are scheduled to, we're currently working on all of the documents and the drawings and everything. So it will go out to bid shortly after the first of the year in January. And then with hopes to award the bids early in March, construction to start in May of 23 and to conclude hopefully before Christmas of 24. Yeah.
Okay, it's a little over a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Project. Is there a particular area or department that anticipated to be done first, or?
Well, that's what we're having meetings this week. We're going to start meetings this week to talk about how we're going to phase this because, of course, we do not want to close for any significant amount of time during the construction. So we're going to sit down this week, hopefully later this week, and figure out, okay, what does this mean for us to be able to stay open during construction? I'm sure there are going to be a few times where, we might have to be closed for a week or two here or there, but I don't know where we're going to start first. So.
Okay, so that's the timeline's to be determined. You probably have a project manager or somebody to help advise on the project itself.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Questions for Winnie? Thank you for coming
right.
and giving us a heads up of
Thank you.
preview of coming attractions we'll have to approve.
That's all right.
You missed about a minute, so you weren't very late. She was explaining why she was here. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Angela.
Told you everything the last time, so I didn't bring paperwork. Oh, come on, really?
You have to talk in the mic. We're on live stream.
Oh, got you.
Those donuts, surprisingly, even though they're left from Friday, they are hermetically sealed. And I tried one, and it was actually still spongy. I figured it'd be hard as a rock, and I'd have to be going with the
Oh, they're
dentist
still
afterwards.
good to
But
go?
they're really not bad
Okay.
for being 48 hours old,
Oh, that's not very
maybe
old.
72 hours. Okay, Angela, thank you. Health Department's on pages Council 33 and 34.
They always do because they don't take into account all of her grant funds. So that's what I was going to make the comment. Angela brings in some pretty good sized
Oh,
grants.
I know what you're asking.
And
now.
so remember, some of her positions that are on her budget are actually grant
Grant
funded.
funded.
So what you see on the disbursements don't necessarily match the receipts because she brings in 6+ figures worth of grants. Yeah, and I think that's just,
Yeah, okay, so if you look at the 1168, that one, that's a non-moving figure that I get every year. So that one has to come out to that amount of money.
That's your
So
health
there's-
maintenance on 34, Council.
Once in a while, I'm allowed to, that's a non-reverting fund, and IDOH and our auditor, I have to turn in what is remaining at the end of the year. And I can budget that with permission from the state. So like last year when I budgeted the mosquito sprayer for 20,000, it was on there and it would reflect that it was over, and I explained that I had the funds, and that was that. But I don't have any outlying capital expenses or anything coming out of that fund this year.
Did your mosquito sprayer come out of the line on health maintenance that says Health Department ambulance? Because it was gone from 20,000 to 0.
Yeah, we did that, and we just left that because that line had been closed for a while. That's how they do it over there. So
Okay.
yes,
So that instead
So
of
the-
ambulance, there's a mosquito sprayer.
instead of an ambulance, we got a mosquito sprayer. Yeah.
Is that in on health maintenance? We're going to go back to
So,
your
yeah, the health
main one.
maintenance is fine. And then, yes, for the 1159, I did, thank you.
Page 33,
So
A and B.
500 and, what's the bottom line on the 1159? It's,
they're estimating 488,000 in receipts this year.
oh, 48, oh, okay. Well, okay, so. Okay, all right. So what I did was, no, that's okay. But it changed. It went from 580 something down to 4 something now. That's the, that was, but now it's 488, okay.
I just wanted to make sure that was okay. I mean, I know you have written everything, but I
Oh,
didn't know if you had enough to cover.
yes. Yeah, so what I over budgeted because I have funds. I have carryover from the last couple of years, which we haven't ever had, to my knowledge. Plus, we have received, at this point, 2 installments from our COVID vaccine insurance checks from the state, which were directed to go into this account by the State Board of Health, or not State Board of Health, State Board of Accounts. Otherwise, it's insurance money. I intended to put it in my, that non-reverting immunization fund, but State Board of Accounts threw a fit about that, and everybody across the state they just said, everybody has to put it in here.
About how
Fine,
much?
whatever.
How much were those two?
The first check was 90,000, and the second check was like 128,000. And they're still billing, so we should have another check toward the end of the year.
So maybe 300,000 in those reimbursements total by the end of
Total,
the year.
yeah, and that's a windfall, because that'll go away. That'll never happen again.
Okay, but that does explain
That explains the over budgeting.
the red here.
And then also the nursing, the nursing supervisor position. And I think what I turned into you was an additional full-time nurse, maybe. Is that on there? I guess I'm looking at it, I can tell you.
Well, you subtracted from the public health nurse and public health nurse assistant and put it into public health nurse
I did.
1000-22.
Yeah, we were having, I had filled that assistant position and had to let that individual go for a various number of reasons, and we just kind of got busy, and the more we talked about it, and we've been trying to strategize how to best use the positions and the money. So we went back to the whole thing, like at the hospital, they cut a lot of clerical positions on the floor, and the nurses, the clerical person can't give the shots and provide the care, but the nurse can also put the orders in to get that done. So the bigger bang for your buck is the nurse. So that's what we decided to do.
Okay, would it be best for council to just start at the top like we've done for all the others? Okay, we're on page 33A. Go ahead.
33A, is that where you're at?
The only thing-
No. It's
Yeah.
1159. It's
Yeah.
just their page because we have like
Oh, okay.
55 pages, and that helps council stay on the right page.
Right there.
So,
The only thing I would mention is that I pulled Debbie's budget status that she gave us at the last meeting, and that fund actually has $302,394 in it. So it has 6 figures more than what Baker Tilly's showing on the sheet.
All right.
302,394.59 to be exact. Yeah, oh, yep.
so you're not in, you're way above 2.2% cash reserve.
So it's almost 60, it's 100 and, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're rolling, just for purposes of knowing how much at the end is available for raises across the board, we're rolling everything back to 2022.
Okay.
And that's not where it's going to end, but that just helps us know how much there is at the end that we can disperse among raises for everybody.
Okay, so what I turned into you included a 3%, right?
3%, right. And most people did 3% because that's what they were instructed.
Okay.
So we're just going to roll back the health officer, registrar, public health nurse director, health educator, chief environmental specialist, environmental health specialist. I'll go back to 2022. Now, Social Security went up 6.78. Is that just based on the raises that you project or what the state has said to?
Social Security, that was based off of all of the positions that I would have to pay that out of, times the 0.67, whatever. Yes, with the raises, sorry.
Okay, so that's with the 3% raises.
A 3%, yep, same with perf.
What do you suggest? Okay, if we're rolling back the salaries and they're attached to a salary, we'll just put it 2022, knowing that that's going to be needed. Same with park, same with
Yeah,
highway,
the park, the highway, and the health will all have to have that put back in.
because you have your own tax rates, so. Okay, hi, Edward. There's going to be a discussion on group health insurance, as we've had, especially with the park, 911.
Her tax rate was increased from reassessment, so if you're gonna adjust your tax rate, that would go back in the reassessment. Or when we increased her tax rate, was that in 19 or 20?
It was, but we can also redirect it back to the general, I think. But, so how many full-time positions do you have in your department, Angela?
We adjusted the parks tax rate down slightly. It's dead. I can't turn it on. Oh, sorry. Or else I'm just not doing it right.
Because it was on the chart. Oh, there you go. It was awful.
We adjusted the parks tax rate down slightly, and then we lowered their amount they're paying for group insurance to an equal rate for every employee across the county. So they ended up with no more money, no less money, but we're just trying to get to a point where every person is costing each department the same amount for insurance, just
Okay.
for simplicity. That's what we're talking about. It would not affect the amount of money you ended up with, even if we decreased your tax rate, because we would lower your group insurance rate
Right, we
equally.
talked about that.
You'd be
So,
paying approximately the same per person than the whole county as a whole is, because
Right.
right now you're paying a lot more per person, and the park's paying a lot more per person than the county as a whole for group health.
per person?
Yeah.
I thought it was 20,000, Chad.
You're paying more than 30 right now, I think.
Well, how many do you have in your department full-time?
Okay, so not on a grant, just straight out employees. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's what I thought.
Now, and I don't know how, but everybody kept telling me that I didn't know how many retirees, and that I had to pay for the retirees as well. And I've yet to get
It
a straight.
depends on which department you are, whether or not that's true, but.
Okay, that's fine, but I would like to know how many
So
retirees I have
what
on
we're,
the
what
insurance.
we're trying to restructure is you pay roughly $19,000 per employee that is a full-time,
Okay,
which would be significant less. Now, that being said, the way we did it at the park was we took away the extra money and just put it into the general fund. So it wasn't like you gained a bunch of extra money.
no, that's fine.
Paying your
It just
fair
made
share.
it more equitable that everybody was paying the same amount. Because like the park, we lowered their insurance fund by $50,000.
Right.
But that $50,000 did not stay in the park fund. It came back to the general fund.
I get that.
For raises.
Yeah,
I
well,
get that, and that's fine.
we'll have to pick up the insurance in the,
Insurance that you lost, that you put back in the county, didn't
yes.
What she said.
So my question then, you asked me how many full-time employees I had, so I told you 4 that were working, okay, that have insurance. 4 that are working that take the insurance.
No, I'm talking how many full-time employees you have total.
Okay, then
Because
then
that
5,
means,
sorry.
because
that
if
includes-
somebody leaves, the new person might take it. Somebody
So you
leaves
take
on
it,
insurance, the
we
old
pay
person.
it irregardless of whether we take the insurance or not. Okay, fair enough.
And that's across
So
the
then
board.
let me change that to 5, so that I have to include myself in that.
Okay.
So that's Liz and I upstairs, and Julie is, but she's a grant. And then 3 downstairs, so that is 5.
Okay, so your insurance should be $80,000 instead of 150, or 130,
30,
based on
yeah.
18, $190,000.
But what about the
Or
retirees?
$90,000.
Are you
Or
counting those?
$90,000. Lord, I'm having a day.
That'd be-
$90,000 versus 130. Yeah, it's 90
So it'd be-
versus 130, so
It'd
we
be
could lower that.
40,000 less than you have budgeted.
Yeah, it's not gonna, in the end, it isn't really, it's not matched, I get it.
It's
It's
not
net.
gonna net you any more
Zero.
money, it's just gonna make it a whole lot more equitable when somebody looks at how much you
That
charge.
it makes it easier to look at. Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Yes. Yes.
Then what, so again, back to the retirees, how does that fall into that?
That will fall into the county.
The
Because there's
county will
no
take care of
way,
those.
there's no way for us to balance that. So it's just gonna, all the retirees are gonna be owned by the county at this point.
Well, and if you take some of that money back, then you've got that cash flow
Yeah.
in there, that makes sense.
So basically what that means is, we left the highway department the same because they're already paying about that number. But the park and if we take 50 from the park and 40 from Angela, then theoretically, we need to increase the commissioner's budget by $90,000 in the insurance fund, correct? And so what we'll have to do is talk to Paige about changing the tax rate for the health department to accommodate for a $40,000 reduction in that line because we're shifting the insurance.
This is
We
something,
need to. Yes. Yes. Highway, and they were right there at that 17.
That's about the average.
Half 18.
Is
on
18, okay,
average.
well,
Countywide,
what I
that's about the
need to
average.
know, though, because I will probably have to adjust some of my, and this will happen next year, right, after January 1?
yes.
Okay, so I'll have a 6-month gap there, January to June, because all their crazy things are June to June. I'll need to get with Debbie's office about how to split that out better. So 18,000 is what I'm going with, and that's what when I do my grants for my full-time people, I'll take.
5
I'll
times
owe
18.
Well,
nine-
now the 18,000 is about what the employee or the county pays. The employee pays on top of that.
Oh, sure, but but on the back end of it, that's what I could
'Cause our
never.
average is a little over $20,000 per employee
Uh-huh.
for the total cost of insurance.
Right.
But
But,
that.
right, the employee has-
covers
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
15%.
Yeah, they don't stop paying that. It's just that's what I could never, ever get a straight answer about, was what my portion of it was, the employer's portion. So when I do the grants, then I'm working with $18,000
This year, or next year, yes.
for 20.
So
23.
when you do the grants, are you putting that money into the insurance fund then, or how does that work, Debbie?
Well, currently, I've got one of them that doesn't take the insurance and one of them that does. So I have.
Does your grant allow for it, or does it pay for it out of county general? I pay for it out of county general.
We are right now.
Yeah, the grant's not allowing for the insurance, we're paying for the insurance. You're paying for it out of the health fund.
Out of the health, yeah, because, yes.
Then you don't want to make that.
Then we may not make that, we better not make that adjustment, and we better just leave it as it is.
Right.
Be sure that the grant did not pay for the insurance.
Because I mean, we could make an adjustment of $4,000, but that doesn't make any sense. Because we've got 2 additional positions that we could potentially have to pay for, so really, I don't think we make the adjustment. I think we just leave it as it is then, because it's not worth it for $4,000. Yeah. Because, I mean, if we got 40,000, we got 2 more people at 18,000 apiece, that's $36,000. That only makes a $4,000 difference.
So you've got 5, right, and I
Because that
have,
would be up to 7 then,
right, and
the
then,
2 other positions.
and then if I can pull that other full-time nurse, that would take me to 8, so.
Now, that isn't to say in the future, if you get grants, that you
That we can work that
you
in.
couldn't take the grant money and put it into this fund.
Right.
And then you still have the money in the fund to cover it. It would just go to the ending balance
I
that would
got ya.
carry over. So it
that would be-
wouldn't, it would still carry into this fund because it's a non-reverting fund. This
54.
stays all in this fund. So if you can get that done,
Right, and I may be able to, yeah.
yeah. So, I
I
mean,
just
but I think we just leave it where it's at, because she has 7 employees, that's right there at that number. I mean, that's $126,000.
Don't take the 4,000 off.
No, I mean, for what we would have to do and change the tax rate and do everything else, it's not.
That's not worth 4,000.
No, we didn't. It
it
was
was
just
close.
very, it's kind of close. It's not, they're like 17.7 something, so I mean.
It was in
it's-
the ballpark.
Yeah, it was very close, so it wasn't,
Okay, we're going to
it
leave
was
it
a
the
lot
same.
closer than 32,000 versus,
Yeah.
Workman's
but
comp.
actually, you're close. You're very close. At 7, you're within $4,000.
Within 4,000 for the
Yeah,
130 with 7.
from
Okay,
the
good.
from 7 employees, you were within $4,000.
Perfect.
Now, the park couldn't say that. They were way off. They only had 4 full-time employees and
Oh,
were
yeah.
paying for 7 or paying for 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we move on?
Okay, thank you.
Workman's comp, you kept the same. Comprehensive Board of Health, I assume that's for meetings, as some
Yes.
people have. Longevity's notched up 400, so we got a person that went up. Public health nurse, you reduced by 7,373. And public health nurse assistant, you took out, it looks like you moved that to the 1,000.22
Yeah.
public health, but there is still a net increase of about 5. There's still a net increase of a few thousand,
Correct.
that with the raise,
For, yeah,
3% raise. Okay.
yes.
So it's a shift. Okay. Part-time, you kept the same. You. What? Part-time?
Says the,
7,000,
well,
70,000.
52,000 was their appropriated budget, but she increased it. She did an additional, or transfer. But do you anticipate using all that? Because you've only used 27 this year.
Right. I'm going to have somebody out on some leave for a little bit, so I'm going to have, that I can't use that money for, so that's why I padded that a little bit, anticipating that after the first year.
So you think it's going to take 70,000 and part-time?
Probably not, but I know I'm going to have to cut something somewhere. I'd rather cut it out of there.
We're really trying to get
Oh, it's okay.
actual,
To get to the actual, I'm sorry, I
I mean,
didn't
best-
bring my,
best estimate actual.
For that part-time, I know that I put 28 hours, I believe, of a nurse and 28 hours for, of course, I have Michelle downstairs, she's a 28-hour person. And then I bumped up the environmental health part-time position to 28 hours.
Can you cut 10 or 20,000 or no?
I was trying to think.
So are we looking to find money within Angela's budget for her, to fund her own raises? Is that our goal?
That's how that works, I think. Did you hear her question?
Okay, so if we're, this is one of the things that, you know, I didn't calculate the actual cost of the raises, so we kind of know how much money we're looking.
Oh, okay, I got you now. So if you can give
727.
me,
So are you cutting any of part-time? You're leaving part-time at 70,000 or you cutting?
That's what we're
I
discussing.
think that's what they're trying to decide, if can I, and I can go back to my calculation page and see how I came up with that 70,000. Let me go back and look at that, and I can answer that within the hour.
Okay. If you can, and we don't
Oh,
want to,
yeah.
we don't want you to be really short.
And it's also, she also has the money out as well.
Right.
She just, yeah, it all boils down to how much she gets in those grants and where they land. That's the big Ouija board answer we don't have.
Well, and what I explained, you know, when I came to you the first time was that the first budget, this budget that I turned in, this was what I'd like to have. And then knowing that I would probably have to amend it to the 520-something, I also have a budget that meets that with cuts and where I would cut it to meet that. And then with whatever I had left over at the end of the year, I would ask for additional appropriations.
Well, we'd just like to be as close as we can.
Yeah, we'd like to really avoid
Without
the
the additional.
additionals.
Yeah. as much as possible.
Okay, so just a dumb question here, but we've turned this into the State Board of Accounts already, or no? So,
It's advertised, I have to advertise it at what you submitted, and that's why when somebody would submit high, we can go lower, but we can't go high.
oh, okay.
But we did the
So-
right thing by doing that.
Right, I was just trying to figure out whether, we're just working ahead here then in preparations.
We're trying to find money for raises.
Okay, got you.
So in my proposed numbers, I don't know, Kenan can probably give his, my number was 16,000 in raises for the health department.
Does
Yeah.
that include perf and social security for?
No, that is just
That's
the
just
raw
raises.
number, so you
That
have to
would
put
be real
20%
close.
on top of that, so it's about 19.
So about 20,000.
Taking everything back to last year, we did 70,000 to 18.
Yeah, so see that alone, just, so my number was really close to the 3%.
Right.
Okay.
Total difference between what you proposed here and this current year budget was 19,565, which was 3%.
Yeah.
But we've done some alterations, and we've
Got you.
taken out perf and social security, so it'd be closer probably to your 16 something.
Yeah, so mine was 16,000, but that's the raw number, so you gotta add roughly 20%, so.
I got just 12 when I added up the cost of individual listed. Debbie had
Did you take the social security and perf back down?
And there's two more on the next page, 33B.
I think that might have,
Okay. She took off 6,000 for, 5,000 for rentals. And added back 2,500 in public health nurse supplies, so that's a minus 2,500 on the second page. You got that in? Or you're just looking at salaries? Okay, never mind.
I got about 12,000,
Okay.
including the social security, but I might have missed something. I was just trying to figure out how much we're looking for.
Did you get the two salaries towards the bottom of the page?
Because they didn't actually increase, so
Well, they did 3%.
did. You gotta take 3% away.
3%
It's
off those.
the next year I'm good. It's the year after that. And everybody that's come on board understands. So my full-time nursing supervisor, she understands that we were good for 2 years, I'm hoping to, at least when it's all over, to retain one full-time nurse within the budget. That's my goal. I think I can, minus the grants with what we've been bringing in. No, but what we're getting from IDOH is that, I'm going to say no. These are windfall grants. This is federal monies that are trickling down to us, I know that the Governor's State Health Commission Committee put out their final report, and I'm not completely through it yet, but it doesn't really matter what they say if they don't funnel some money to you to funnel to me. I don't know where they think we're going to increase our funds to increase this. So I'm not banking on any of that, which is my whole entire goal was to stop the hemorrhaging and then see where I fell. So with the last time we increased our fees, I think we should, when the dust settles, I should be able to have 2 full-time nurses in the nursing department, keep my position, and then have the 2 environmentalists, the registrar, and the 2 part-time people downstairs. That would be, we're still understaffed by all sense purposes, but that would be better. Yeah, no, it's a good question, and we've told them, we appreciate the money, but it's hard to work with the grants because we'll bring those in, and it just kind of messes everything up, and then it's all the work to turn in the reports. We wish they would just give it to each county and allocate it to the health fund, and then we could use it.
Well, that would mean less bureaucracy, and government doesn't usually operate on that premise. So you said you'd like one director, 2 full-time nurses, 2 environmental, 1 registrar, 2 part-time downstairs. How's that compared to pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, so right before COVID, when I had 2 full-time nurses and then I could administrate, then that individual, or my nursing supervisor, retired, which left me with 1 nurse. And what I did with that position, rather than fill it, was I got a grant for immunizations, which allowed me some part-time help, and then we supplemented that with that part-time help. And we supplemented it. I used a clerk that was part-time. I had a nurse that worked 2 days a week with that money, and that worked out well and better for getting the things done at that point in time.
Okay, so net numbers, are you going to be in about the same shape, better shape, or worse shape?
I think we're in better shape, honestly.
And even when the grants phase out, you think?
Even when
it'll
the
be
grants
better
phase
net?
out.
Okay.
Yes, I
good.
think I've accomplished what I wanted to, was
Okay,
to
good.
be able to take that full-time nursing position and get it back in there, and then still have a little bit for the part-time side.
Did we ever come up with a net savings that we talked about by 18,225?
And that's
Okay.
all in? That's what I need to go see?
That's how much that was cut. I don't, the only thing we cut was salaries. We haven't really gotten to the arm wrestling over where we land in raises. I kind of come up with a thought, Kenan came up with a thought. They're very close.
Yeah, they're
I
not-
think dollar figure wise.
They're not very far apart.
So, at the end of the day, I think that 18,000 will cover the majority of what we're talking about doing in raises
For you,
for you.
For my department?
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess if we really wanted to make her insurance line item correct, we could lower it to 126.
I'm
And then
for
that
that.
would add 4,000 to it, which would more than accommodate the perf and the raises.
I'm for that if it's
I
not worth
think
the
it would
Baker
make
Tilly
sense to
time.
do
I'm-
that, so, but let's just go, I think we just go ahead and lower that. That would put 4,000 back into her budget. And between that and the raises she cut, that would more than accommodate for her raises
Okay,
that we did. So you don't have to go back and crunch any numbers. Your budget's set.
so we're at
So
126,000
we
on
cut the 100,
insurance.
cut it to 126 on insurance. Deb.
Everybody, first page, 33A, we're going to actually take that down 4,000. So group insurance will be cut $4,000 to end up at 126,000 instead of 130,000. So we are cutting 4,000 out of that group insurance.
Tell me what you cut, how much out of the group insurance?
4,000.
Yeah, from 130 to 126.
And I don't think that's going to make a big difference in the commissioner's fund even.
No,
to worry about.
not with their multi-million. 126
It's,
to
and
126.
they can't, I don't know if it would help to turn on those
So it'll
fans
go
out
from
there.
130 to 126.
I mean, because I know we can't turn on this line of fans. I don't know if it would help, but it's not like that one hasn't been broke for 6 months. Maybe I should run to Menards today real quick to buy a fan.
I think they're on sale this week.
I have a couple floor fans. You want me to bring one over?
We'll adjust. It's just going to get hot today because it's hot.
Yeah, outside.
It's hot
is
outside,
kind of
humid.
Miserable.
Are we ready to, I don't even know where we're at. I think we combined the part-time travel. Now you've, on malpractice and liability insurance, you just pay that once a year and it hadn't been
Just
paid
once a
yet?
year, yeah.
And it hadn't been paid yet, apparently. Okay. And we talked about rentals, you dropped 5,000, public health, nursing supplies, you raised 2,500 for.
And what that is, the way the ordinances are, if I do a TB test for someone, I'm required by law to do TB tests for free if anybody is actually sick and we suspect it. So we have to pay for that. But if they come in and we do it like as a business for a school or something, then this will allow me to buy the Tubersol out of it. And then the money that we charge, the $20 for doing the test, goes right back into this fund.
Okay.
So that's all that, and it'll clean up bookkeeping on my end, so Debbie doesn't have to split that fee apart.
Well, will it pay for monkeypox vaccine?
I can't even talk.
I heard it's not
monkeypox.
available.
I just can't talk about it.
Okay.
I can't do one more thing. I can't have one more pandemic.
Nobody out there
I
listening get
just
monkeypox.
can't do it.
You'll have to go to another county. Or Madagascar.
Well, it's just like. Yeah, we don't think so, yeah.
But, yeah, the
Well,
average person probably
but
won't.
keep in mind too, I mean, it's just like the chicken pox, that if those blisters pop and there's the liquid on there, so you need to be careful. I wouldn't recommend trying on clothes right now, because if it's on clothes, then you could get it.
What if you, like,
It's not just through sexual contact.
what if you wash the clothes, you got to get it off, you don't know if
Yeah,
you get it off the
hot
rack?
washer and dryer will take care of it.
Okay, so we're good.
So we're
Just
good.
don't take a clothes that somebody might have tried on at J.C. Penney or wherever, and,
Correct. Yeah, it frames yes, the population that brought it, but it's already jumped outside of that population just because of casual, yeah, casual contact.
oh, yeah, in this weather.
And my mother was so worried I was going to get ringworm in elementary school. Ringworm, that was the big thing my mom worried about. I know, toe cream, you're good to go.
Times they are changing.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. Perhaps.
I had some comp time the other day, but I will tell you that.
We don't want any more
Because I can't get
rumors.
those calls during hours. Exactly.
There's,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, that's what I meant. I have no anxiety
that's
left.
good. Everybody has their limit on anxiety, and this is not one to go after. Don't go chasing anxiety. Okay. Well, she said it spread
Correct.
beyond that.
Was it okay, though? Or are you telling me I don't have enough money in it? Oh, okay. It should be dead on, because that's all I get out of it.
We moved to page 53, is that what we're talking about?
Huh?
You're, no, we're good,
Okay,
unless you have questions for us.
nope. Thank
Council
you.
have questions for Angela, or did we answer them all? So we really rolled back that group health insurance, because it's going to help you with raises. The group health insurance, we took 4,000 off.
Yeah.
That might be something you use for when we talk about raises. It'll help.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And if you need me to go back to that part-time, just let me know. If you want.
Yeah, it's 70,000. I mean, if 10,000 would probably
yeah,
help
let me
you
go-
out.
Let me go back, yeah.
Okay.
Let me go back and look at how I calculated it.
Just
and
let
then
us know.
I'll just email
I mean,
you.
at the end of the day, it goes right back into your fund, so it doesn't,
It's kind of a wash.
it's kind of a wash, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it.
I mean, if you think you're gonna need it, it'd be better to put it in there than it would be to come back in October and
have
say,
to
hey,
ask for it.
I need
But-
Debbie to run all this work and do an additional, then we have to have a public notice, then we have to go through all that. If you think if you think
I
you're
would
gonna
be
need,
happy to go
if you
take
think
a
you're
look
gonna need 30 and you put 70, that's a different story.
Yes.
But I
don't
think
there's
that's
that
what
big a
we're trying to
difference,
say, is
but-
we want everybody to be as accurate as possible, but we also don't want to put Debbie and Bobby York through a bunch of work to do an additional, because they do. We have to advertise, we have to go through all these things, and, yeah. Yeah, and so then it has to, yeah. So.
Yeah, that's why Pat would always do Middletown News and not
I
the,
think we all want to be very
have to do
accurate,
both.
but we
We do
don't want
now.
to be
yeah.
We do now.
ridiculous about it either.
Were you able to do that for that other for me? Have we got that advertised yet? For the pay for my part-time people? They passed it at the last council meeting.
From that grant, the extra pay for that we did at the last council meeting.
$2,500 for. You don't have to advertise it? Oh, so we can, so I can go ahead and talk to her and she can get me a transmittal put together? God love you. Okay, well, thanks.
That was worth the
Well, then we're done.
conversation, wasn't it?
Huh?
It was worth this conversation.
Yes.
It was worth coming over here.
That was good.
That's what,
All right.
there's not. Oh, there is.
Yes, thank you all. I can't stay out of trouble. Like, it's way too boring.
Hey, Angela, I just to tell you that you can't go far from my daughter. She just texted me and said that they're gonna probably send Walker home with her food. And that Angela has to stay on standby. That's what she said to Angela, she has to stay on standby.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, good.
No, I meant the expectant date. That's what Harold. 3rd of October. I'll ask again because dates are lost in one brain cell, out the other.
So Debbie, do you have an idea of what this fund is taken in? Because, well, I've got here's what concerns me. According to your budget status, it says year-to-date revenues are 244,000. Would that be accurate?
And the one that I sent you,
On July 28th. Okay, because it says the year-to-date revenues are 244,000. We're talking about EMS. So I don't know if anybody else brought their budget status, but their budget status shows $244,659.45 in year-to-date revenues. Year-to-date expenses, $267,554.91, leaving a current fund balance of $167,393.81. They have budgeted $809,000. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
they started out with a very low balance, they're building that.
Well, I mean, when they originally started, they had basically nothing, but so far this year, they have spent more than they've made.
But there must be a specific cause, I would imagine.
Well, I know we've done a lot of increases. And so the other concern I have is they're new, if you take, because this was actually through 7 months. The 244 was through 7 months, not 6. So through 7 months, you know, that's somewhat concerning, because they're budgeting way more. So that's,
I'm sure they are.
yeah, it was him. Yes, yeah, this was ran July 28th.
No, I didn't forget you.
Yeah.
Four.
So those are not the expenditures. Are the expenditures in here?
They're separate.
So they're all separate. Okay, so here's my concern, Mandy. So I'm pulling the budgetary status that Debbie gave us at our last meeting. Year-to-date revenues, according to the county budget, is $244,000. Year-to-date expenditures is $267,000. And according to this, you have a balance of $167,000. So like Susan said, you've averaged about $35,000 a month in revenue, which takes it to what, 418,000. But you're budgeting 809.
So a lot of that expenditure ends up coming back out of those grant funds. But we are on target. We made about 500 and some thousand dollars last year, I think, is what the in total was, somewhere around there. We're on target, but just below that, and it's run volume. And run volume is directly tied to low staffing for our service, as well as every other service. So we've actually, I don't know if we can do this, but after some critical meetings at the end of the week, last week, and some rumors that were getting out of hand, and some talking heads getting ready to make some drastic decisions,
Yeah, we're privy to those, yeah.
we decided to handle things on our level, and I have pulled ALS from our budget for 2023. I don't want to give anyone the idea that we are capable. That was a stepping stone to begin to buy equipment. I am taking out 90,000.
Okay, so you're gonna have to go through and tell me.
Yes. So
The 15,000 is the ALS supplies, which is .08, and then the 4,000, .03 is the 75,000.
yep.
Exactly on sheriff's
Yep.
critical care.
So I think that
They're
people.
they're the whole budget.
I think that people saw that and assumed that that meant something it didn't. That was supposed to be a stepping stone to going back ALS. That is a 10th, maybe a 10th or 20th of what it will take to actually go back ALS. That was just a stepping stone, but Yep, yep. Because we can't just assume that.
We told them we were gonna start working on that, but I think whenever they saw that line, they were like, oh, they've already got it budgeted. But at the end of the week, I had to factor up how much it was gonna cost, $850,000 for us to get it.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, so we budgeted that in there, like she said, as a stepping stone to start purchasing equipment to get ready. But by the end of the week, last week, I had budgeted how many, the total amount it was going to take for us to get ALS ambulances on the road. That comes with, supplies for the ambulances, payroll for paying paramedics, the amount of money we're going to need for narcotics and other drugs, and all that. And to get 2 fully stocked ALS ambulances out of the road, using ambulances we already own, for a year, to secure enough money to pay for that for 1 year, it would be about $850,000. So that, like, that is not reflected in that budget at all. We, you know, we only have 100, so that's just a stepping stone to buy a couple of monitors or to buy, you know, an auto pulse or a ventilator. That was nothing, and I think that whenever somebody saw that, they thought that we were ready to do that.
We're planning to do that
Right.
in the near
That is-
future,
we
not,
were-
not
yes.
5, 10 years from now, but in
Right.
next year.
Right. And so we decided to take that out, and so people don't think we could do that in 2 months. You know what I mean?
It
Why-
doesn't mean that we may not purchase some equipment in the next year. It'll be from grant money that I apply for. And
Okay.
I will collect it myself.
So you just want that off the line item to show it even? Okay.
Yeah, because I think it was misconstruing what we were intending on, and I think a lot of uneducation on some other parts.
So
Not
communications.
realizing just how much, that there was no way that could have meant.
So that was part of the meetings that they
Yeah, so
they
this was
construed that?
I mean, I hate to do it because we absolutely are gonna have to do it to rebuild, but that's one piece.
I'd
of a
almost say
great
keep
big
it in
puzzle.
and just communicate what you're trying to do.
Well, that
So-
brought that total down, like Chad was talking, that, you know, that brought us down almost $100,000.
Well, and that's my concern, because even bringing that down, you're still a couple $100,000 over budget
So
compared to your
here's the-
average
Is the
receivables.
500,000 with your grant money or without your grant money?
So, but I'm confused, because I do have a question related to that, because originally I'd ask, does these expenditures get paid by grant? And you said no. And then then you said just a second ago, well, some of that.
Some of those, and
does,
we're talking
so-
hundreds and not, are getting
Okay.
taken back out of, I guess, the
Okay,
grant. Where like
'cause-
either I've went or no one was here to grab a credit card or something, but not thousands of dollars, like it's minute in comparison. But one thing that I do want to point out, and you can give me help on this however you want, I am right now paying on 3 places. You want to know why my expenditures are so much more than the money we're taking in, is because I'm paying utilities at this moment on 3 different places, and I have been for a while. As recently as I just split, and why this is just a 2-way split is beyond me. A $1,500 CenterPoint energy bill with the commissioners, and I paid $750 of it, and then on top of that, a $500 water bill for a place I just moved my staff in the first week of July. Make this make sense. I had to pay for my own internet and my own TV at the park, the extra fuel it takes to get in here.
Yeah.
Now I'm paying for this building over here, and I'm still keeping utilities on at this old building.
I don't think
That
that's-
is one of the main reasons
I don't-
that we are off, and it's going to take us out. It's going to take us out.
I don't think that's a council decision to do that, but, because I didn't go before us.
So that, I mean, but that's my explanation. That's why my expenditures are going above my,
It should
Yeah.
be.
yep.
That didn't go past us. That was not a council decision.
Where are you taking your?
That's
utility?
only going to get worse.
I see a
Like,
phone and internet. Is it operational supplies? Where are you taking your? Oh, there's
Wherever I can
utilities.
get it.
So you
So
got
right
17.5 for utilities, but according to this, your actual year-to-date as of July 31st was only $3,369.
Because they're having to come out of professional services. I don't have the budget for that.
Well, I mean, you budgeted so you've already taken, you only budgeted 4,000, so they're coming
Yeah.
out of professional services.
Yep.
That's why you spent over 60% of the budget already, because some of it shouldn't have been coming out of there, but it
Yeah.
is out of necessity.
But obviously, whenever
Yeah.
we made that budget to begin with, we didn't plan on paying.
So are you done paying at the park now?
Yes, I'm officially
Okay.
completely pulled out of there.
And then the utilities of the old EMS building, I don't know how much,
They're not, it just depends.
gonna say it
If
should
there's
be
a lot of
minimal,
sewer or
right?
whatever
Should be
like
nice.
that, but that's what our budget was based on, was those bills.
And you're in the
Yeah.
old jail
So I
now.
still continued to pay those bills based on my budget. Then I paid bills out at the park, and now I'm paying, then I paid bills at the jail.
Okay.
Well-
And that's where you're at now, right?
And that's where
The
I'm
old
at
jail.
now.
And-
Like, I know Stacy's got the corner, area, but what are you guys doing at the jail?
That's our new station.
That's our new station.
Yeah, we completely remodeled the whole
Yeah.
administrative side of that jail, put new
Yeah.
flooring
Where are you keeping the ambulances?
at the
At the
base.
base.
that we originally used, but
Those garage doors that are right in front of the old jail.
Okay.
Where they always were, I guess. They just, no.
no, the building that's just right across Fleming, They're on,
4 big bay doors?
yes, that's got the big bay doors, yeah.
Gotcha, the one with a hole in the side of it.
What's the second, the second building
No.
over here?
With this building right here on the corner, nothing. That's a great question.
So why are we running utilities? What utilities?
Shouldn't be much.
Why would,
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
yeah, but you don't pay sewage unless you use water.
Where's our what?
It must be,
So if there's no water, there should be no sewage.
I tell you. Like, I don't, it's,
has to be a meter. Has
Not
to be
yet.
a meter if you're being paid.
but we will
Like
be.
two separate meters to each side of that building. and one connection.
Are
Yeah,
you,
we're
I
still
bet
working
you're
on that.
using water in the bays though, right?
Yeah, but I
For
don't
clean
think
out
that
and
has
stuff?
anything to do with
Yeah.
that building. I think that still comes on to our utilities that we're getting at our new station. I don't think that those bays are tied into the sewage at the 1132 Broad
It's
address
not.
at all.
It's not.
So that
Like, if there's no water usage, there should be zero sewer usage. Because what your sewer usage is based on your water usage.
Exactly.
So that's something I would talk to the commissioners about and have them talk to the city about, because it
I have
is-
requested, I don't know how many meetings now. We were all supposed to sit down, department heads, and determine who was paying what, where we're gonna do square footage, where we're gonna determine who was gonna be there most.
unfortunately, like Kenan says, that's, I mean, we can all sit here and have opinions all day long.
Yeah.
But that's all they are.
But honestly, I only brought that up to explain why that looks offset. So my safety net that I had is just going lower and lower and lower because I am paying out more than I'm bringing in right now.
I totally get that, but again, that's not $200,000 either,
Right.
you know.
So where's the 200,000 coming from?
Well,
What's that?
you have budgeted 809,000. You take the 90,000 off, that leaves you 719,000. You've only average brought in 500,000.
Oh, okay, I know where, yeah, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. You're bringing in 5, you're budgeting,
talked
you're
about this
budgeting
earlier, she just doesn't remember.
720.
So with our payroll, that's our biggest one, is our payroll. We don't have, so it's hard to explain, but we've not even used half of what we've budgeted for payroll for 2022. We haven't used half of that. So that directly affects what we bring in. We have more staff, we take more runs. So we're paying for more people to work and using all that money, then we're gonna start bringing in more money. But right now, we've saved a couple $100,000 because we haven't paid nearly that much on, we only got 4 months left. We haven't got anywhere close to what we budgeted on payroll.
And you're losing it.
Yeah, so that's 100,000 right there. And we only got 4 months, so I mean, and whenever our staffing goes back up, our income will go back up.
So it's all directly related.
Yes, it's all directly
Your
related.
revenues are affected by lack of staff.
Right.
So far this year, you've spent 232,000, and you brought in 244,000. Does that sound right?
No, actual to date, expenses.
What'd you say, Debbie?
It's probably 49 or 7.
So yeah, it's all kind of like a sliding scale. Once we, if we were to start paying out more in payroll, then we're going to start bringing in more, and it'll all level itself out.
Okay, so this is an aberration that's not normal. What's the prospect of getting more employees? I know it's a problem everywhere.
Yeah.
And it-
We brought some papers. And it's going to be hard for us to get employees because we have people around us paying $18, $19 an hour for EMTs. It's so competitive.
Right, same with our jail. We're not competitive with
Yeah.
like GEO or, yeah.
So we have a few things, actually. And there were some other cuts in this budget, too, if you want. I don't know where you want to go first. But there was a few other things that we saw.
But yeah. Yeah.
You want to go through those first?
Start from page 1.
All right, let me see.
40A, council, where we have been. What do you put in for? A 3% raise in your 2023, I presume? That's what most people did.
Well, we wanted to ask about that, too, because we got your report. and I don't know what to do with that report. What does that mean?
The market value and all that stuff report. Is
Oh,
there
yeah.
a way for us to use that to adjust our
We're going to try.
wages so we're competitive?
We're going to try to do that at the end.
So
We're moving everybody back to 2022.
Input about what you want it to be, and that's what we're using to try.
So we're different than everybody else though, because we could do it. I think, we could, so it's hard, it's so fluid, we can maneuver things different ways and raise that and become closer to market value and more competitive. And then, like I said, it's gonna boost our revenue. So,
If you
it
get the
made
staff.
sense for us earlier, we went through and we took a little bit from everywhere that we could in hopes that we could put it back in payroll and raise it closer to market value so we could be more competitive, hopefully bring in more
I have a
staff.
question for you, and this is probably ignorant of how you do business, but if you raise the rate you're paying people, can you raise the cost of your service to cover? You may not. Okay.
So the good news is, we have gotten reports that, and they're confirmed, it just won't pick up till July of 2023. Ambulance rates are going up for the first time in like a decade and a half.
Are they set by,
So they're set
Very
by
helpful.
state,
Yeah.
federal
Wish it
government.
could happen this year.
so that's why you can't raise?
So they're raising Medicaid reimbursements to be more competitive with what Medicare federally will cover. So
And then,
Medicaid really gets us every year, because,
It really
we might charge $600 for a transport, we might get 100 of it.
yeah.
That's
it-
what insurance, and then, with the clause with the county, what insurance doesn't pay, we write off. That's just the way
Yeah.
we're set up. So,
So-
we did this $600 transport, we only got $100 for it, and that's just hitting us.
I mean,
For so
we
many
could-
Medicaid patients, it's hitting us like,
So the government sets
every
the
day.
rate, and then you bill and you get from insurance companies, and you take a big hit from Medicaid. Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah. Now, and the difference between Medicaid and Medicare, what we recover from those is drastic.
What'd you
So,
say, Mandy? I didn't
the
hear.
difference between Medicare rates and Medicaid rates are pretty drastic. So
Okay.
one may pay $518 for the same thing that Medicaid's gonna pay $97.50 for.
Okay.
So the fact that they're wanting to become more comparable will help our bottom
Oh,
line
so
for
much.
sure.
Okay.
So,
But it's not gonna take effect till July 1st, 2023.
Okay, so half the year.
So, yeah.
Well, that'll help.
It's just, they didn't say what the increase is gonna be, they just said that they made it in legislation that Medicaid is required to be more competitive and comparable to federal Medicare reimbursement.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. They haven't been, like I said, in a decade. It hasn't even
Everything's
been
going
addressed.
up except for
So,
what we're getting paid for ambulance runs.
Well, let's hope the
before I-
adjustment's satisfactory.
Yeah.
Have you already done the math to figure out what percentage of your costs are fixed and what percent are your employees?
do what?
Have you already figured out, what percentage of your costs are fixed and won't change with adding people as a percentage, and what, I was just gonna do that.
We-
I didn't know if you already had an idea.
We do have an idea of what our payroll as it sets right now, if we raised our rates to 16, 17, 18 instead of the weird numbers they are, we are not gonna pay EMRs anymore. Our whole goal of having EMRs was to get them moved into EMT positions, so we wouldn't change EMR pay at all. It will stay exactly the same, but if we started an EMT at 16 and then raised the B and C shift differential to 17, and then the weekend to 18, we'd leave those alone. As far as, it's not even much more than we budgeted and haven't used yet because we're so low staffed. We are basing this on 100-plus coverage, like 150% coverage. So it looks really high, probably won't use it all. And again, it's got to be there so that if we do bring it in and we do hire more, that's what I was asked to do, is make it for what I think we're going to need. Clearly, last year, as far as payroll is what I thought it would be, not even close. So, but I don't necessarily want to lower it because that too was based on 150% coverage.
What's a more competitive EMT rate, hourly rate?
Yeah. So right now, and I've got some numbers here, $17, $18, $19 is what people are going up to.
And it's 16 now?
And I am wanting to move that to 16 starting rate, and then our differentials take place within there.
Would that be like a matrix? Years of service would automatically go up?
No, it's gonna be like per shift. So A shift, the hours of 7 to 3, 9 to 5, and 12 to 8 p.m. are gonna be set as the 16. The hours of 3 to 11, and we're hoping to go back to C shift if we get a staffing fix. So the hours from 3 to 11 and 11 to 7 a.m. are gonna be the 17. and then the weekend hours will be 18.
That's very unique in the fact that the more you invest in
Yeah.
your department, the more you're gonna see the return on investment.
Right.
Yeah.
We've seen, I mean, that's going out for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you adjust for your spend for this year, you've spent so far 111,000 in that EMT, EMR line item. And if you spend the same amount, that another 111 by the end of the year, then you're gonna spend for the whole year about 430,000, which is pretty close to what you, well, but then it would increase your revenue,
Right.
it would, unless it's just in raises, then it would not, right?
Unless it's what?
Unless
No,
it's
well,
just in
it's gonna be just in raises, but hopefully that draws in more,
People that
more
you
of a
can do
staff
more with.
base, and then, yeah, we will be able to schedule more shifts and schedule more runs, and it will increase, yeah.
Yeah. So after meeting with the hospital and the city, we are desperately needed to go back 24/7. It's what's needed here.
Okay.
Which is also why we thought, well, we're just gonna take ALS off the table right now. I'll look for grants and things to try and get that, to start collecting that stuff.
Okay.
We need to focus on getting a C shift here for the hospital, and for the city. That's where they struggle.
So you have the 2 shifts, you just don't have the overnight.
Right now, we have the ability to have A, D, E, and B, if we could staff it. The reason that those shifts overlap is because runs overlap.
Right.
So there's more than
Those are
one
busy
person at a
doctor's
time,
appointments,
yeah, that
dialysis,
needs to
those are
go
busy
to those
hours.
places, so.
So, yeah, we run Monday through Friday, 7 to 11, we just don't have the night shift.
Do what? No.
I don't think that's
No,
ever on
we-
the table. I don't
Uh-uh.
think that's gonna be a possibility for anybody here. I think that's what we're
That's
trying
not
so
what we're-
desperately to avoid.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Because you're gonna put everyone
ALS in
in
the city.
a really bad position if we try to get forced to do that. One, it's gonna cost somebody, and it ain't us, $500,000 to start it up. Then there's no medics available right now. Yeah, we would have to, basically educate our own medics, send them to school. And then you got all your certs, and the medical director and the supervising hospital has to get involved. This is nothing that can happen overnight. There's just no way we could make it happen.
Yeah, maybe sort of, and I totally get that, obviously, we were talking about those changes,
Yeah.
last January. It was, years and years of people, do you have any sense of timeline for potential ALS?
When we start back ALS, it will be to support the hospital, interfacility transports,
It's
to
hard to
relieve
give
the
a
city
timeline.
and the hospital. Anything other than that will remain to be seen. So that's
Right.
not,
Well,
the
yeah.
only reason that we would have that is if the city called for us. And we have to establish a good relationship with them down there.
Are you currently
Timeline.
providing a service to the city that they view as critical?
The city? Oh, yeah, because they can't do what we do.
yeah, they won't ever be able to take doctor's appointments in dialysis. They would have to double their staff base.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to speak on their behalf
Not
or
only that, they
anything,
would
but
lose staff.
It's
if they
just,
start
yeah,
doing what we did.
it's a completely different, it's this, the same family, but a completely different.
So it behooves you two to work together to solve these differences in this family
No,
squabble.
they don't wanna do
Yeah.
what we do at
Yeah,
all.
we had a meeting.
Which is why we had
They say out loud that they don't want to do it.
oh, yeah, we just
Yeah.
had a very long meeting on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got public defender coming up in 5 minutes. Where are we at?
Oh, I didn't finish telling you
We are going to roll back everything to 2022 amounts, but that means nothing as far as raises for next year. We're just wanting to see countywide what we have monies left for raises, so what you're proposing may well be feasible, maybe even more than that, don't know yet. So all the, the director, you said you're going to move the incentive from EMR to EMT. We're going to move everything back to current salary just for our purposes to see what we have for raises countywide. And you should be able to hopefully do what you're proposing. Benefits stayed the same? Yes, for now. Part-time maintenance, zeroed out. You've had to use some out of that. Dispatcher, billing clerk, that's a new job,
Yep.
new title you're proposing. Questions Or has that already been pretty much answered? They need to be doing EMS, CMT stuff instead of clerical stuff? I assume that's,
She is doing billing right now. That's where her focus is.
Who
That's
is?
where I have her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already been approved and
Yeah, she's already,
okay. Uniforms, you're adding a line because you currently don't have it. Council, speak up if you have any questions. Scheduling rewards, that must be an incentive
for picking up shifts, yep.
for picking up shifts. I suspect other departments do that, similar to your department, that is. Office supplies, you just moved that up because you had next to nothing in the past. Operating supplies went up a lot. What kind of things fall under operating? Medical, health, ambulance?
Well, our oxygen,
Okay. So
things
medi-
like Epi, Narcan, all of our bandages, all of our, everything that restocks our ambulance.
So you only need that extra if you have extra staffing, probably.
Yeah.
So it's all
it ties
contingent on
into
that.
Everything, yeah.
But you do have some ambulances coming from ARP, right? They've been ordered?
Oh, they're already here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we already
They're
have
already here and in service.
And they've been retrofitted and they're on the road, ready to go. Good. So you're ready for equipment as far as rolling on the road. You just don't have the staffing to do 24/7. Okay. Council, any questions on operating supplies? It's a big increase. Okay. Repair and maintenance supplies went up.
So that one you can take off. We are getting rid of that one.
Okay. We're getting rid of 2000.03. Repair and maintenance supplies, subtract 3,500.
Yeah.
Subtract 3,500. Phone and internet's gone up.
No, just our phone now. I got rid of the internet because we're not at the park anymore.
Okay, so it's gone from 600 to 15. Is that legit?
I have the new budget I did. I don't know what button.
Well, tell us what you put on it.
So we took off after my repair and maintenance, it went to other supplies at ALS and we took that off.
So what, okay, phone and internet, what do you have on phone and internet?
Phones.
Phone, 750, and that's the county
Okay.
phone.
Take off half of that 1,500, it'll be 750.
Professional services?
Yeah, you have 74,500. What does that go for?
Do what?
Professional services.
Professional services.
74,500 is what we have proposed for next year.
All right, I have 77,500.
I like,
So what we didn't put in that, from that budget year, is the background checks that we paid for. It probably needs its own line. We make everyone that we hire to have a background check, because it also helps reduce our insurance. It's just a safety measure.
but that's
And
up
then
14,000.
Insurance refunds from ambulance billing, I suppose that could probably go into professional services if I could take it out of there, and that would be a question for
That's a Debbie
as long
question.
as I could. So I put all the insurance refunds I've had to do in the last year because they just can't seem to get it straight. I've made a line for that itself because there was nowhere to put anything like it.
Insurance refunds,
So we could put that under
just leave the insurance refunds where they are because we can track them better.
yeah, so that's what I
Okay,
was.
3,000? Okay, I'm just wondering about,
Scheduling service is new to us too. We got a scheduling service, got away with the old paper, paper schedule that Henry County used. So that's $3,000 for that a year.
Yep.
Up until last year, we used a
Everything was on
paper
paper.
schedule and took pictures and sent it to everybody.
so is that under insurance refunds or another
No, that's
line?
under the professional service. That's the
Okay.
next line after
So
insurance.
that's 3,000 of the,
Yeah.
you said 14,000. Ours shows 74,500 on our version.
65,000 for ambulance billing service.
We put all your professional services under one.
And right now, that grand total is 74,500. Is that sufficient? That's what we had before us. That's an increase from 63.6. So
Where'd that extra, you got, say your price again. What'd you have on there?
74,500. Last year you had 63.6, so it's gone up about 1,100. It's gone up $11,000. Almost 11,000.
On ours, we got 77,500, so I
what
don't
do
know.
they not?
You guys don't have it broke down like we do, I don't think, do you?
I think you
Okay.
have something on something else that we have under there.
Yeah, you're 2,500 more than we have on our sheets.
I think we should be okay with it.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know, I think.
we'll keep it at 74,500. Printing, you went up 500 to 1,000. Utilities was one we talked about. And can that come down now that you're back in one building or one and a quarter
These
building?
utilities are based off of what I was told the electric would run. Again, I don't know.
You don't know if that's your
I
fair
don't
share?
know how accurate
You
that
don't-
is. Yeah,
Well, with coroner and anybody else?
supposed to be the commissioners because everyone's storing their records in the back of the
That's
building.
where all the annexes
Yeah, she
are.
mentioned that. We don't know what the split is yet, do we?
So I don't know. I have no
It seems
idea what
high,
my
but I don't
portion
know.
of the bills are gonna be.
That, yeah.
So internet, you can take internet off. I don't need internet now.
Well, it's under phone and internet.
It's
under
all,
one.
they don't
Under
have
one.
it broke down
They don't
like
have it
that.
broke down like we do.
See right there, phone and internet.
Phones and internet.
Okay,
Right there is
We took it in half because of the internet. We did take 750 off.
okay.
I don't, the utilities seem high, but that's a big building, so we don't know.
So, and then under utility, when I put miscellaneous unknown, that's for all the stuff I don't know that's coming. Like last year, there's a lot of things that came in that no one thought to mention to us, and we had bills, 500 here, 300 there. Well, this is your share of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you-
that's 25, that's 2,500 of the utility services, since you can't see. But yeah, so we can take the internet off since we're on the county internet
We-
now, so that'll
We
take.
did.
already did.
We did.
Okay, sorry. I was
So, and we
listening.
dropped,
Go through that sheet, because that sheet doesn't mean a thing to us, because we don't see it. That's the hard part. The sheet that's in front of you is the only thing we have.
yeah, but this is what I've made my changes on.
Okay.
So-
Well, we'll try to sync the two. Utilities seems high, but it's also an unknown currently.
It's kind of unknown, exactly. So what is your next line?
utilities, are you leaving it at 17.5?
That's what we're talking about. Seems high, but they really don't know.
Well, it's lower and, yeah, that,
I mean, is that going to be the grand total of the building, or is that your half or whatever, your portions, you don't know?
I don't know how
I've
it's
been
gonna
trying to
fall.
get those
We-
answers for
We were told
months.
that the utilities there could run from,
5,000 to
5,
17,000 a month.
Yeah.
So how am I
But we-
supposed to
Nobody
budget
knows
that?
because.
Yeah,
How
but
much a month?
that's with hundreds of plus
know.
people
Yeah.
in the
So
building,
we've only
so
got
that's
one
not.
month, and that was still a split month, so I don't
Yeah,
know what our
we have
average is gonna
absolutely
be on
no
there.
idea. Yes.
Maybe not evenly, because they're going to be more than one-third of that building.
Yeah, so I don't, we
Yeah.
just haven't had enough bills
Storage
coming
for
in to average out. what
commissioners won't be a third of the building. Probably be
I
about-
would think the utilities would drop
should.
significantly.
I would hope so.
I think we ought to at least take it down to 15,000 and then
But
see.
again, that is a huge building. I mean, it's not unheard of to spend a couple $1,000s a month on a building that size. That's not unheard of.
But it shouldn't all be theirs.
What did you
Well-
Stacy's utilities at, do you remember? Stacy's utilities to me would be higher than theirs because he's running the. I'm not sure it's being even split. No, because he's gonna be running the coolers all the time.
His is at $10,000. But they also remember that they're adding other things into that line, right? Just utilities.
Yeah, it's just-
Stacy's was set at $10,000. 10.
I mean, to me, his would be higher because he's gonna have those coolers he uses all the time.
the only different thing that we had under utilities was that's where we put the miscellaneous,
Yeah,
the
that was it.
unknown, because, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
But you have a miscellaneous on the last page, don't you?
I feel like if the water bill that I just paid was $490, that's just the water bill.
For how long? A month?
Yeah.
That's water
He
sewer.
is low on his utilities. And that's with none of them there but
Somebody
us.
said something about wondering if they didn't have some kind of a, like a commercial, different commercial rate that somebody pays for a building like that. I don't know. Never looked in, so we need to see. So we need, maybe
Yeah.
that's why ours is higher, even though we've always gone from residential out there to now we're in a commercial setting, so we're probably getting
Yeah.
charged a lot more than. Really?
Do what? Where rec was, and then he's going to make an autopsy suite where the deputies used to bring offenders
Booking.
into booking area.
Okay,
and
so-
I don't know, we had,
I'm-
listen, you
I'm-
don't shut doors.
I'm
there's
back to
soft fans, all
suggesting
the air's just running out.
15,000. I'm suggesting 15,000, so
Okay,
we
we're
move
okay at
on.
15,000.
I don't know why the public defender's not here yet. And we'll know more months down the road, how that's going to be divided. So taking off 2,500, repair and maintenance, you've gone up.
We took 5,000 off of that because hopefully, God, with our new trucks, we're not going to spend any.
So
any
20,000, it says
We let
25?
Yeah,
So
I
minus-
read that most EMS agencies keep at least 5,000 per apparatus budgeted away for repair.
Taking off 5,000 from repair and maintenance.
20,000, we took 5 off and made it 20,000.
Okay, so minus 5,000. Fuel, you have down 12,500. You're going to get
That's
part of
based
that
off actual.
countywide bid, right?
Yeah, and that's based off actual numbers, the best that I could.
So where were
I'm
you
assuming
paying
it's
your
gonna go
fuel
up.
from right now? Because you didn't have anything in that line
Yeah,
item.
which surprises me.
Where was you
Where are we paying
currently
fuel
paying
from
the fuel from?
Anywhere we can, usually it's wherever it is.
Better to
Yeah.
have a line,
Yeah.
like you have.
Right.
So that's
It's
based
well
on actual.
documented each time
Right,
it's paid, it's just,
and that's your actual.
yeah,
Paying how much a gallon, do you know?
whatever
Well,
the
it
rest
was
of the
it was
county's
the
paying.
bid, yeah.
You're on the county bid?
yeah.
You're on the sheriff bid or the miscellaneous bid?
No, it was a bid.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we
you-
bid.
yours is actual then?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we won't touch that. Insurance refunds, what, did we talk about that earlier?
When we have to do insurance refunds because they overpaid or misbilled or something,
So that's the buffer for up or down?
Yeah.
we've had to do it a lot.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's
been
good
a
to have a
whole lot.
line item for that, like you said earlier. Yeah, and we're taking out the ALS 15,000 for reasons you stated earlier.
Even the radios.
We're taking it out. They're not going to do that this coming year, or if they do, they'll get it, yep. Or they'll get grants for it. 40B, what about radios? You put 5,000.
Radios we're gonna need. It's the only way we can effectively communicate with city and dispatch.
Is that part of that Motorola deal?
Yeah.
Or going to be their equipment that syncs with theirs? Okay. Workman's comp and liabilities, plus 20,000.
So we dropped that down to 15,000, and just because random timing, today I got an actual bill. So I was able, yep, so I was able to actually get the actual figure. That was an estimation because
Okay,
that bill came out of nowhere.
so
last year.
15,000,
So
given what you know
15,000,
now, will
yes,
cover it.
Yeah,
Okay, and you're taking 2,500 off of office equipment and asking for none, correct?
do what?
So you took workman's comp and liability down.
Yeah,
To
5,000.
15,000.
215, down 5 to 15. What's the office equipment? You had 2,500 last year, we have
We
zero.
don't need it.
Okay.
I got it with grant money.
Okay, so it stays zero.
Yep.
Improvements to station, 20,000. Is
We
that,
dropped it down to 5 because again, with grant money, I remodeled the whole place.
so that's down 15,000 to 5. Okay. ALS startup equipment,
Don't need it.
zero. Anybody have a total? Is that what you're figuring up, Debbie? It's gone down. You have money for a good raise, I don't. You really need more staff to generate more revenues, and then the balance won't look like it has in the last several months.
Yep.
Yep.
I'd love to have 15 EMTs.
And that's, those largely part-time,
Right now,
right?
I think we got 10 EMTs right now. We got 5 of them that are very active. The other 5 pick up their minimum a little bit more than their minimum a month.
675, 016 is what I came up with.
016?
111
That was 40 minutes well spent. And we
Yeah.
have a better idea of how you're functioning over there, too. Public defender is supposed to come 10 minutes ago. Well, yeah, I could just turn my neck to the southwest, I could have seen you. I was going to tell her to page you. You're already here.
All right. Thank you.
For the work you do in the planning to grow so we can cover the citizens of Henry County and go 24/7, and it's not about competing with the city.
Yes, I was waiting out in the hallway. I could see that you had people here, but I've been here since 2 o'clock, yes. Thanks.
She's on page 18 primarily. To use the mic because we're live streaming and we do have people tuned in, and you need to be about 3 or 4 inches from it
Okay.
to be able to hear out there at live stream land. A couple people took breaks. Betsy's coming back. Page 18. Just let me know when you're ready. I think Chad just took a break. He'll be back. Page 18, we're looking at, while we're doing, I have a note that you have a $95,000 Delaware County. Is that that contract for up there? That's from our earlier meeting a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a part-time contract, yes.
Okay, and it's 90, that's part-time?
Yes.
So that's for miscellaneous part-time or one person part-time?
Yeah.
That's why it says Delaware County. Okay, as needed. I have a note from our previous meeting. Everything you have in your budget is for contracted services. Chief Deputy Public Defender or Chief Public Defender, 89,260. Does that reflect a 3%, if I remember right? Increase?
I don't know what the percentage is, was 2,000.
Oh, it was a flat. Okay, for everybody else, it averaged about 2.3%. For that one, it'll be a little different. Okay. Okay.
What would 3% be? Is that higher or lower than that? Okay. Okay. I'd prefer the 3% then, but, right. Sure.
We took all salaries back to this year, correct?
Yes. And the only reason we're doing that now, initially, that means nothing. What the net's going to be at the end is see how much we have to give raises across the board. And we're also trying to adjust the market. So if a person's really lower than market, more than another person, they would get a higher number of increase than those that are right at market rate. Similar to last year, but we hope we have enough money to do better than last year. We'll see. So we're going to roll everything back to 2022, but that's meaningless because that's to see how much we have for raises for all employees. And we're hoping, with the possible exception of the highway department, it'll be a minimum of 3%. And that's because we gave them an 18% raise 3 years ago.
Okay.
So they've had a higher to begin with, and they're near market. But we're hoping pretty much a floor is 3%. Okay. So we're rolling all that back. Yours, Chief Public Defender was 2,000. All the others were 1,000, I think I heard. Appellate Public Defender was 2,000, down on 1,000.07. No change in transcripts and depositions. You lowered 800 in longevity, so it must have been just a change in personnel.
It's when Jeff Gallion retired.
That makes sense, minus Jeff. JG. Office supplies went up 250, I assume that's inflation. Contractual services was up 2,500, I assume that has to do with everything else we've been talking about, mostly inflation.
Right.
And you doubled investigative witness fees. Is that because of backlog in court cases? Partially.
We're having a couple of more serious cases this year that we didn't have last year because there were no jury trials.
Which will take more. Jury will always take more. Okay. Council, stop any time if you want to stop. Question.
Okay, my mic keeps turning off. So I think we're looking for about $6,000 if we wanted to, probably maybe $8,000 if we wanted to.
That's going to be hard to find that in hers.
I would even suggest your postage, you used all but $5 last year, it's gonna go up this year, so we might even consider increasing that a little bit.
Well, what is your, I'm looking for, she has another fund that they use as well.
Let us know when you find out what page it is, because I didn't.
I can't, do you remember what the number is? You guys have a second fund. I just.
They transfer it out of something else. I don't know if it would be general office supplies or,
No, you have a whole different fund.
Yeah, in addition to your
one that
271.
the courts reimburse us with from fees, yeah.
That number is, do you have that with you, right? I'm looking for it, I just can't.
Okay, when you find it, just let us know. So Betsy said something about
Because we used that last year, like, for supplies and stuff.
you've already, well, let's,
When the courts order payment of some clients, they reimburse, public defender reimbursement for some of their services. But I'm not sure what
okay.
the,
We haven't made any changes, other than we rolled back salaries back to 2022 rate. Everything else has stayed the same. Training, you kept the same. I assume that's sufficient, $1,000.
yes.
Betsy mentioned something about wondering if postage is enough. I don't know. You tell us. You have 1,000.
It's gone up too because less visitation at the jail, sending more letters. They're supposed to be just taking them over to the jail rather than having to mail things to try to cut down on that cost.
So good at 1,000 or needs to be 1,250 or what?
$12.50 possibly. because of the
1,250 will do
increase
it?
in postage.
Because I think everybody else has gone up. Just postage was going to move up to 250 to 1,250 total.
Because I think the postage is one that you guys took out of the other fund.
Okay.
That's why I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Go back and I'm comfortable going on.
Well, yeah.
About the contractual services line item is 20.
She was saying that was a backlog of cases and more severe cases and requiring jury. And a lot of her budget's contractual services. A lot of it, more than any other department. That was the increase she explained, but you might have a better explanation for her.
Is that also connected transcripts and depositions? Because here today, you only use 781, but you're asking for more, and you're anticipating cases.
Right. It could be an issue. We didn't have jury trials for about a year and a half, so it kind of cut everything down. Yes.
I'm just trying to
All right.
make sense of it. We're trying to find every dollar we can get every dollar.
I think when we talked to Kit, he said there's a real backlog, and some of them are cases that have been put on hold that are pretty significant cases. So it sounds parallel. What he does is parallel with what you do,
Right.
and parallel to what the prosecutors need. So it's all interrelated.
Right.
And they're all going up because there's that backlog, and that's statewide. There are a lot of cases
Oh,
pushed on the
everybody.
back burner the last 2.5 years.
And even there was a jury trial last week that did not happen because there were not enough jurors, apparently too many people out with COVID. So it's
And that's going
postponed
around
and
again,
continued.
as people here can attest to. So we may be on hold until Debbie finds that other fund, but we do have a copier lease that's stayed the same, and legal research has stayed the same. So I assume you're thinking that legal research at 1,000, same is going to be
Legal
okay?
research the same, the copier lease has actually been paid off now, but we still have the service fee. But I'm worried because now we've had the copier repairman out 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks. So I'm hoping we don't have to
So
get
the
a new
lease is
one.
actually going to be
The
repaired?
lease ran off, but it's,
It's maintenance or repair?
yes.
That may be a line for that. There probably is. We'll ask Debbie when she comes back. If so, we'll name it properly. Maybe repair and maintenance. But you're anticipating, yeah, that is expensive every time they come out. And that's not part of the original agreement. There's not a repair agreement or maintenance agreement.
Well,
It's,
it is a maintenance, and they supply the toner and everything. And so I was just told that it paid off this year.
okay.
But
But if
the
they come
problem
back, you
is-
still have to pay for that.
It's been breaking down more often, so I'm worried that there may be a need for a new one because it's 6 years old. So,
So you want to keep that in case it dies. How old is it? 6?
6.
It should last 8 or 9, but so should cars, but they don't always agree with that. They're mechanical. They can break down and, okay. We've gone through everything. We're rolling back everything to 2022 as far as salaries and, no, the Delaware County, is that under, is that on our line? Is that in? That was a reference. Okay, but is that chief public, where do we see the Delaware County 95,000 on here?
it,
Oh, that was a reference to
It's
what they pay
showing,
there?
yes.
For a similar position. Okay, I didn't make that careful of a
But-
notation.
but he is part-time. He also has a law firm.
Yes, and you said it would be nice if you would renegotiate your contract to allow that if it should be to help
Right.
with what you make.
The other difference between my contract and the part-time PDs, they have a caveat in their contract that would allow for salary changes if the council allows. Mine does not. So just like last year when there were raises given out and I was passed up for that because mine is on a multi-year contract. No, I was planning to do that after this because I have to have my next year's salary in the contract. But preferably the 3%, yeah, at least, but, this is Joe Lansinger's contract. The annual salary may be subject to increase as determined by the Henry County Council to comply with requirements of the Comprehensive Plan for Indigent Services in Henry County, which provides for compensation to be substantially comparable to similar positions in the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney. I don't have that sentence in my contract, and I'm going to be requesting that it be in there so that.
Chad and I were just talking, professional athletes have agents. Maybe you need a better agent to renegotiate your
So
contract.
do you think it could be the SUP Public Defender Fund, 1,200?
Yes,
Fund number 1,200?
That's correct. Okay.
We didn't know until you talked a couple of weeks ago that you didn't get a raise last year because it was every 2 years renegotiated. So you would have been the only person in the county not to get a raise last year, so that stinks for you. And we did not know that. We thought everyone did. We were not aware that you had a 2-year contract and didn't
Well,
get
it's
it.
2 or 3. I've had 3-year before and I've had 2-year before. It just can't be more than 4.
Okay, I would,
Since you didn't get a raise last year, I mean, 3% would be even more reasonable.
minimum. I think we're shooting for 3% for most departments, with possible exception of highway, who'd gotten a really large raise 3 years ago. Yeah, bring that up when we talk raises. I remember reading it a month ago, but thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, they're advising us on that, what he said.
I don't have their proposed tiers.
I don't think I've seen it either. I think that was just a statement of what we should be looking at as a possible option. Yeah, but bring that up in case I forget it on Wednesday. Recommendations.
So we cut, anything other than salaries?
Raise postage 250. What did we just get? Oh, this is what we,
She got us a page, but it doesn't have the full, it's just got the first line item. Okay, so this only has the first line.
It's the only thing, because they haven't spent anything, that's all they've got in it.
Oh, but it doesn't show balances or nothing.
Oh, mine doesn't, or that, the 1,200, I just needed you a new one.
This is the one from my budget status.
That's the 20 days. Yeah, because it's got a balance down there, 17,000.
When we get low in something, we pull and draw out of that fund. It's the reimbursements that the judges, if the judges say, oh, you're going to reimburse the public defender $500 because you can sort of afford an attorney. And Judge Willis was really good about applying that to most defendants. Be nice if we could.
just the postage up 1250. Yeah, 250 difference. That's all.
Took away the raises, right?
We zero those out for now, yes, like everybody
He
else.
doesn't do it as often. Judge Crane typically.
Angela's back.
Judge Willis was very good about that. But she's been gone for a
I
while.
actually turned my head to the left. I see you. Kathy was over there a half hour, and I go, Page Kathy, she's late. No, she wasn't. She was early.
I saw that people were in here, so I sat in the hallway.
Back that way. So you have a balance in that other fund, which is a 1,200 for revenue, nearly 18,000. Okay. You need all three judges on the same pages.
Judge Willis was really good about assessing fees, sometimes even large fees. Maybe we can somehow try to encourage Judge Witham to do a little more.
Okay. Are you listening out there, Judge Witham? We can hope. We don't have a lot of control over the judges, but if they're listening in, they might take that under advisement. I think it's a legal term. Under advisement, I think it is. Okay. Any questions for Kathy or Kathy of the council? Thank you. We're going to deliberate a lot of Wednesday and possibly next Monday on raises.
Okay.
And like I said, I hope for most people, we start talking at 3% and can move up from there, we hope. What's that represent? 57,411? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Well, I'm glad someone else other than me is on the wrong page. One up. It may be a couple minutes because we're doing some tabulations on the last department, but we'll get organized and start here soon. Okay, council. That's close.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we only added in
We're on page 1, council, page 1. And then you have this is reference to us. Your page numbers won't be what we're talking about. We're going to be on page 1, 50, and 51 for clerk. Page 9 for voter registration, page 12 for elections. We're going to cover all those, right? Okay. Okay, I'm going to wait for Harold or Betsy. And I think so. I think so. Okay. We're good. Yeah, we're good. I just kind of wanted Betsy to hear what's going on. We're going to roll back, and I think we may have already shared this with you, all the salaries back to 2022 for now. So at the end, when we get to late Wednesday, we'll know what kind of monies there are to distribute to the whole county for raises. So that means nothing today other than it helps us accounting to see how much we have in that pool for raises, which we're hoping 3% plus whatever we've saved over the last 3 days or 4 days come Wednesday. So that doesn't mean you're not getting raises. Hopefully you'll get more than 3%. So we're rolling raises back like we have everyone else. You did put in a 3%, it looks like, for everyone. Longevity went down 1,000, and I assume that has to do with a change of staff. Yeah. Most of your clerks, they're Comet 3s, which countywide are well below market value. It's one of the categories that kind of sticks out being below market value, so we may do a special emphasis there like we did last year. Those that are further behind market value might give a little bit higher than those aren't. Bringing those closer to market, everybody closer to market proportionally as well. So that's just free of charge extra. We have office supplies, you kept the same. Is that going to be sufficient?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Oh, you'll need to use the mic because there are people at home listening on live stream. So I would say probably 3 inches, Jenny. About 3 inches from the mic for them to hear. Otherwise, Debbie gets text, we can't hear you. Yeah, so, but people at home, they'll be texting her saying, we can't hear you. So you've zeroed out office supplies, printing, postage, repairs and maintenance, dues and subscriptions, travel, and postage meter reading are all exactly the same. Page 1, very, very top page, page 1, clerk. Are all those going to be sufficient? Because we've got this thing called inflation that's just really eating away some people's budgets, they say.
Oh, I don't have to hold it, okay.
These
Okay.
we have to hold down.
Okay.
You got a lucky one, you don't.
Okay. I believe they will be sufficient. We do have our clerk's perpetuation fund that that we've been trying to use. It's only for specific items that we can use it on, but we try to use that as much as we can. So I believe we will be sufficient. I left everything as it was last
Bless
year.
And for council's reference, her perpetuation fund is on your page 51. And the unappropriated monies on that one's the only one I'll have questions with eventually here in a bit. So there's really no change. I mean, your grand total of all your raises equals, I think, 11,367, or and then we take off 1,000 for longevity, and that's 10,367.
I don't think so. I was thinking Like I said, we've tried to do what we can through our clerk's perpetuation, but we are limited on, it's for record keeping items only. And that's not by our choice, it's by statute, the rules.
We're looking for every dollar to get back.
Right. And I do have one retiring. Debbie Roach is retiring. She hasn't signed on the dotted line yet, so there's a possibility 800 will come off of the longevity. Yes. Her plan is to retire at the end of this month, so I left her on there just in case she changed her mind. But, so
Your
I guess
perpetuation fund is pretty healthy.
it is pretty healthy, but we're very limited on what we can spend it on. So we do what we can.
Just took the 2,500 of office supplies, there, that's more than one person, that's a raise for someone there.
I was,
Because you have,
possibly with printing, I could, use, we could probably take some out of my printing if necessary.
okay, you feel comfortable taking 1,000 off?
Printing, I think we could probably take 1,000 off of
Okay.
printing, and then I can,
Take 1,000 off,
yeah.
Of printing? Okay,
that's what I'm saying, my head's plugged up.
okay, so, we're-
I would say 1,000 from printing, and then I could justify that printing supplies through our clerk's perpetuation somehow.
okay, take 1,000 off of the 2,000.01, so 3,500, subtract 1,000 equals 2,500. Well, what I was going to say is that it's 2,500 both in perpetuation and it's 2,500 in your 001 fund, so for a total of 5,000. So is there wiggle room there, or do you anticipate 5,000 total?
So because this fund is so limited, is that why it's grown so much? Because just for reference, there's
Yes.
$182,000 in that fund.
Right.
And this year, they brought in $26,000 in revenue and spent $5,000 in expenditures. Yeah.
Yes, but I think there are relevant expenses that would help. State, take that state, take that money.
Okay. But you're not going to do that
No. No.
because you
That's
know
why
the
it's
effect that'll have in your department.
grown. Yeah.
Okay, but you did raise, in your perpetuation fund, you did raise office supplies
Right,
500
I was
and
trying to, go
with
from
actual?
what we've spent, yeah.
Okay.
Get my ideas from what we spent last year and kind of bumped it up a
Okay.
little bit. Because we didn't used to have to itemize and budget for either the clerk's perpetuation or the 4D incentive. We just used it, spent it out of unappropriated funds. But now we're, with the new council, we were
Well, your
kind of
perpetuation
itemizing
is
and
healthy,
budgeting. Yeah,
very healthy.
yes.
So and you increase the dues and subscriptions, which I'm not quibbling about, but you have a lot of money in there. And I'm just wondering if there's other things you can legitimately take out of that they're not going to penalize you for because they're legitimate. I mean, your part-time stayed the same, 6,000. Office supplies, like I said, you raised 500. Dues and subscriptions, you raised 400. You kept 8,000 for repair and maintenance. Is that on the copiers or other equipment you have on repair and maintenance, or what does that go for? That 8,000 for repair and maintenance, what does that go for? Copiers or something else?
Right, yes. Repair and maintenance would be maintenance on your copiers, yes.
Okay, is that a,
Roly-polies.
so that's why yours are more than the average department? Okay. Wow. That's a business to get into. You can charge whatever you want. That'll be $500 an hour plus travel. Okay. Office fixtures, you have nothing this year or last year or next year. Questions, council? Your unappropriated money is $2,700. Is that just taking out the other expenses that weren't in your general fund that you don't have a line for? You've taken?
Right, yes.
Okay, what you were
Again,
explaining earlier.
Yes.
Okay. Should that be a line item, Debbie? Well, it's kind of unexpected expenses that don't fall nicely under one of the other line items. She takes out a perpetuation, and this year to date, she spent almost $2,800. Should that be a line item, or right now it's just under unappropriated monies? It's just keep it as it is? Okay. No big deal. So we didn't cut much except out of printing. I said we didn't cut much from our budget except the $1,000 from printing. That's the only thing that we rolled back salaries, but we've done that there'll be raises unless somebody comes in with an astronomical something we're not expecting. Okay. We've gone through your 4D doesn't change, right? That's one we don't touch.
Right.
Okay, voter registration, if there's no questions for Jenny. 9, and then elections 12. Voter registration. Use the microphone. We have, same deal. We're going to roll back chief deputy clerk. For reasons we say, we'll see what we have to give raises to everybody, hopefully more than 3%. Longevity hasn't changed. Office supplies haven't changed. Printing hasn't changed. Postage has not changed. Equipment repairs and maintenance has not changed. Computer maintenance has not changed. Travel has not changed. Registration fees have not changed. This must have been an easy budget to compile. No changes, but a 3% increase in the two employees. Questions, council? I don't know where we're going to find places to cut because she didn't raise anything. Then page 12 is voter. On election year, just midterms for the state and the federal, city and federal.
The city reimburses us for this, right? A percentage? So, but that's not, all the total bills are included in here, but,
Well, we have to pay for everything.
yeah. So how does that work,
We don't
Debbie?
reimburse till after the end of the year.
After the end of the year? So we're not going to see the funds back until '24 is what you're saying?
I don't know when.
Usually it's no, because she can't bill until November, the end of November, and they're not quick on returning the money. There's a formula for it.
Yeah. How many vote?
How many vote? Okay. So it's based on actual numbers
Yeah.
after it's tabulated. Well, hopefully we'll get it in 2024. Hopefully. Okay. So you've gone on page 12 under election board. We're looking at because it's a non-election year. You took down 5,000 off of absent voters board. So you still need 8,000, correct?
We still have absentee voting, yes.
Right.
Primary and general.
Okay. Precinct board primary, you took 6,500 down to 5,500 for the same reason. That's proportionally what you need. Precinct board general, you've taken down 6,500 to 5,500, same as the primary. You've taken 4,000 off of overtime for reasons stated. You kept office supplies the same. Election supplies, you subtracted 2,000 to make 5,000. Repair and maintenance supplies, same, 800. You've taken 2,000 off of postage for reasons stated from 5 to 3,000. You've kept travel the same. You've kept freight and hauling the same. You've taken legal notices down 500, no, up 500 to 2,000 because of.
Well, if you look at this year, we're really short.
Yes,
because the costs
you're
are
over half.
Outrageous.
Gotcha,
They've raised costs a lot.
gotcha, okay. Oh, you mean like newspaper, legal
And
notice?
we-
Yeah, I've heard that.
By code, have to publish.
I've heard that from other departments. It has gone up. You've kept office equipment repairs the same at 1,000. Polling places, you've decreased by 1,400 to 600. Meals for precinct board, you've subtracted 2,000, cut it in half to 2,000. Ballot programming, you took 25,000 off from 90 to 65,000. So your net on page 12 for us is you've taken off 52,900, meaning you've subtracted, you took off 32%. Okay, council, where do you want to find more money to cut? I think she did it for us. I think she did it for us. And you know what your numbers are and your needs are. Yeah. She does, and this election year, this year is different than the full election, so she's cut where needed. Questions, comments, that's all the pages, aren't there?
We've had a handful of applications, so just starting the interview process to see.
See how it goes. Hopefully you'll find ample number of quality candidates that will take the job if offered.
Right.
Because that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they have second thoughts. Council, questions, comments? Thank you. This was one of the easier ones
Oh, okay.
because you've already done your job. Yeah, very efficient. Thank you so much. And good luck with the hiring.
Thank you.
Ample numbers of quality candidates. I know that's what you're after.
Yes.
And good luck with that.
All right, thank you.
I hope you're very successful, as they do all departments. She's been doing what with crack? Anticipating. You might have been putting more times in cracking the numbers than what we were expecting. That's because she figures it might go to raises, so it's worth the time.
Okay. We're looking at that, 33A. Keeping in mind that I'm adding that part-time, or not part-time, but the other public health nurse, which would give me the 2 plus the supervisor. Really makes me golden in the nursing department, so I'm very happy with that. If I cut the part-time nursing position hours that I budgeted into the 70,000 part-time, the number before the raise or after the raise? Before the raise, then we would be looking at 15,000 that I could take off.
Take off 15 to make it 55?
Yes.
The only thing we'll need to keep in mind is because we have not talked about increasing part-time, so.
We have not, and that has to be a primary discussion coming up.
Well, and I did it both, figured it both ways, so 15,959 minus 14,302. for that, the difference in a raise versus no raise for the two part-times that are figured into that is not quite $1,700.
Okay.
So,
Not significant, but worth noting. Betsy, did you fill Debbie in on the amount? Minus 15,000 in that 1,000.19 number. Okay, so that's now 55,000 instead of 70 because you've subtracted.
Part-time down to 55,000?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
is that right?
Chad, Kyle, make a note. We got to talk part-time.
Yeah, 55.
And what you read from Wagner and Sheila, we need to bring that up on Wednesday. Because me and my COVID fog may forget it, Chad. That's helpful.
That work?
That gives us more flexibility and you more flexibility. Thank you for finding that.
Well, I know you said something about you hadn't looked at part-time yet, but my part-time nurses make the same as full-time nurses, and so right now that's 25. So with the 3% raise, what I had figured in, it brought it up to 25.75. I would really like to get them to 26 even for my nurses.
Okay. Well, you're taxed, so you can probably, with your grants, you probably can do that.
Yeah.
I probably can accomplish that.
Something heard? Okay. Yeah.
Chad, I have a question for you if you have a moment. So what was your thinking when we had the EMS? Like, does it make you concerned? Me too. We need to at least be watching every month
I really like them, and I dispatched for so long.
Yeah, I